What's up, guys? Welcome back. Hey, got something really special, really different for you guys today. Talked to a buddy, pulled a few strings, called in a few favors, and got something awesome today. We are checking out the 2021 Ford Bronco. So Ford has been saying for years and years and years now that they were going to bring the Bronco back. They had talked about it. The Bronco went out of production in '96 there after a 30-year run. It went out because everybody was asking for bigger, newer things. Brought in the Expedition, the Excursion. Those came in, and sadly the Bronco went away. Now Ford started teasing in the, I think it was early 2000s. They started making prototypes of the Broncos. They were saying they were going to come back. Consumers got really excited. Well, nothing happened. Here we are, fast forward 20 years later, and it's actually back. I was a skeptic. I didn't think Ford was going to do it. I thought it was just going to be a tease. Didn't think they were actually going to listen to people. Here we go. It's back. And I got to say, I'm impressed. So this is actually the Badlands model. This is the 2.7 liter V6. It's an EcoBoost, obviously. Everything Ford's EcoBoost now. I believe it is a twin turbo. We'll pop the hood and check it out if we can even see them, with 10-speed automatic. Right now for this 2021 year, there's only two engine options. There's a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost. Now that, with that smaller engine, the 4-cylinder, you can get either 7-speed manual or the 10-speed automatic. Numbers are pretty impressive, guys. So with that 2.3 4-cylinder, the horsepower is 300 and 325 torque. Now 325 torque out of a 4-cylinder is impressive. I don't know how they did that. I mean, obviously the turbo is most cause there, but I couldn't believe it. So 2.7 liter V6, the upgrade, that unfortunately you can only get with a 10-speed automatic right now. Now that comes with a whopping 330 horsepower and 415 foot-pounds of torque, which I'm gonna have to check with Ford, because 415 foot-pounds of torque sounds like a lot anymore, but we're also living in a day and age where a Toyota Camry has about 300 horsepower, I think. So again, this has the 33s. Let's see what it's got for suspension here, because I actually don't know if it's a solid axle. I don't think it is. Let's take a look. Oh, you can't see it, but okay, so it's independent front suspension. It has Bilstein struts, which I think are some kind of active aero dampening something or other. I don't know what they do, something fancy. But again, front and rear locking diff. Let's check out the rear. So in the rear, we do have a solid axle. And kind of interesting, the struts are at a pretty aggressive angle. Bilstein's again in the rear here, but the struts are set at like a, I don't know, like 25, 30 degree angle. So the doors are removable. Now, I don't believe it's just as easy as pulling up on them. I believe you do have a couple bolts and then a pin to pull, but it looks like they've got a plug in the wiring, so that's ready to go. So all four doors are removable, and again, you can get these in a 2-door option or a 4-door option, which is pretty nice. As the sales rep said, this was I believe he called it the marine grade interior, so it's a vinyl, not a leather, but I think this is the top of the line package. You've got vinyl flooring, vinyl rubber, whichever the two, but you know, they built these for off-roading. They made these for people who want to get out and get their feet muddy and dirty. So, oh, not that bad. So I'll admit, I did a little bit of reading before this, and I heard a lot of people complaining about the mess that is under the hood. Now, it probably helps that this is the 4-cylinder, so it is the smaller engine, but not that bad. I mean, it's, you know, a lot of it's going to be the turbo, a lot of this extra piping, but you know, quite a few coolant lines, a lot of wiring, a lot of PCV and vacuum lines, but not that bad. I mean, not that bad for a modern engine. You could work on this. You could definitely work on this. I see we got the it looks like they ran out of room for the windshield washer reservoir, so it is actually between what would be like the inner crash structure and the fender. I mean, it's not a bad place for it, but usually you don't see these right there on the fender. Usually those are kind of up front here, but Ford, I know they had some slowdowns getting these things out and produced. You know, they announced this a couple years ago because, again, this isn't a pre-production model. This is an actual, this is the consumer model. So this one, once it's done being a demo, whenever it is, and I feel terrible for it, however beat up it is, this will get sold to a consumer and they'll be pretty happy with it. So yeah, looks like all pretty standard stuff under here from what I'm seeing. Decent amount of room, a lot more room than a Jeep Wrangler would have. All right, so this is another option with the Bronco. This kind of neat tool package. So this isn't something I'm used to seeing with SUVs. This you know, this option of a box back here, but if you needed stuff to put all your crap, I like it. I like it. I'm sure it's not a cheap option, but hey. So you got your spare tire mounted to the rear there. So let's talk about pricing. This one, again, this is the Badlands, so it's one of the higher packages, but it's the base Badlands with a couple options added on. So let's see. We started out at a base price of $44,500. We added $4,985 in options, a couple delivery fees, destination, yada, yada, yada. And we got up to $51,000. So this, as it sits, is $51,000. Now, prior to this, I went online on Ford's website there and I started building one of these. And I think I built this same package, the Badlands. I added in a couple things, you know, a couple mid-grade options. I think I added the mid-grade tires, mid-grade stereo, you know, nothing crazy, but I did make it up from the base. And I got it up to $56,000 real fast. So I'm pretty sure you could end up in the 60s on one of these without trying too hard. But, you know, it's a new truck. I think with the demographic they're going after, which primarily would be the Jeep folks, I don't think they're going to have a problem selling these. I mean, like I said, all the 2021s are already sold. Can't even buy one. They're taking orders for the 2022s. So I don't think they're going to have a problem selling them. I mean, I like it. You know, we've had this thing about 15 minutes now, and I already really like it. I feel like my head's on a swivel. I don't usually have a... So for those that don't know me, I don't really like to take out vehicles that I either don't own or can't afford or whatnot, but I feel like when you get the chance to drive something that's brand new, something with the hype that's been surrounding this thing, you take it. On that note, if anybody out there has got a C8 Corvette, I'd really like to drive one of those. Really been wanting to check those out. Those have been out over a year now, so if anybody's got one of those, you guys let me know. All right, oh, I heard the turbo a little bit. Woo, sporty. All right, so we're going a whopping 62, and it feels like the sunroof's cracked open. It feels like the doors are open. It's loud in here. But I would say all that is worth it if I could just get to take the doors off and drive it around. So I've never owned a Jeep Wrangler. I've driven around in a lot of Jeep Wranglers, but I've never gotten to drive one around without the doors off. Now, I've been in some Humvees, you know, with the doors off and driven around. That's fun. But I'd love to get to actually drive a Jeep Wrangler around with the doors off. And it's funny, I own some K-Series 80s trucks back in the day, and I always thought about taking the doors off and just driving those around, being a full hillbilly. But I always feel like the police would mess with you. You know, police see a Jeep guy with his what is it? I don't know, Billabong sandal hanging out the door. They don't think anything of it, but I feel like if I took the door off my 80s K-Series truck, they would think that I've got a PBR in the driver's seat open, and they would probably pull me over. So anyway, but it is cool that the doors come off on this. I really like that. This soft top does roll back. If we tried to roll it back, I'm sure we wouldn't be able to figure it out. Pretty good brakes. Stops pretty good, but I feel like everything these days has such big brakes, you know. What was, you know, sports car material 20, 30 years ago is all just standard stuff now. Designed and engineered in Dearborn, Michigan. Ford sticker there, make you feel a little better about your purchase, that you're buying American made. I dig it. It moves. It moves pretty good. I'm impressed. This is the EcoBoost. I think everything. I don't know if Ford makes a non-EcoBoost engine. Maybe the 5 liters. I don't think those are considered EcoBoosts in the trucks and Mustangs. But this is an EcoBoost, so you got a couple turbos on this 4-cylinder, and it moves pretty good, especially for being what I assume is a big, heavy vehicle. I don't know what this thing weighs. You guys look it up. But yeah, moves pretty good. So we're going to come up on a couple roundabouts here. We're going to see how it does kind of going at speed driving here, because that's everybody's, you know, the non-Jeep people that get into a Jeep for the first time. That's always a criticism, how it's going to roll. And you know, this has got independent front suspension. I think the Jeep Wranglers still have solid front axles, which I like. You know, there's advantages to both. I'm kind of a solid axle guy, but I do actually like that they went with the IFS in the front of this. And up here we've got all our axle controls, the locking diffs up here, front locker, rear locker. We've got, they still didn't change these beeps though, I tell you. I remember an old job I worked, we had a 2011 Ford Focus for our security car, and this has that same Ford dip, 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 dip. You would think in a decade they could change that. I'm sure it sounds like that in the Ford GT though. Anyway, diff locks, some kind of thing showing diffs with some arrows pointing somewhere. I'll bet that does something cool. Something here that's showing one side lifting up higher than the other. I believe that is something to do with, I think this has something called like torque vectoring, which I think if you're doing like some rock crawling or something, I think it will actually change the, I don't know, you Impreza and Evo guys tell me what this is. I think it'll change the amount of power that it's actually sending to the drive axles at that time. Like it feels one spinning, kind of like, almost like traction control, but it does it independently per axle, I believe. So I think that's what that is. That's pretty neat. All right, so we're not going to get to off-road, but let's take it over a couple speed bumps, see how it does. And I didn't really talk about the ride quality. I'm pretty impressed. It rides good, and I think a lot of that comes from those Bilsteins. You know, I've got Bilsteins on the front of my Ram. I really like them. You know, they just do such a good job at having a good, durable ride, a solid ride, but not too solid, not shaky. They don't rattle you to death. You know, Bilstein does a real good job with their suspension. Oh, wow. Okay, so that was a silly little speed bump I hit there, going about 30. Now, I would have slowed down considerably more than that in my truck, and I don't know if it would have done as good on that. And my truck's even got independent front suspension also. So I'm impressed with the ride. I'm really, really impressed. I'd love to take this thing off-roading. I really, really would. I don't think my sales rep in buddy would be too happy with me though. And I try to keep all the connections I got, because as I get older, I'm losing them. I'm never going to get used to this auto stop start. I hate it. I hate it. There's got to be a way to turn it off. I'm sure it's somewhere in the menu here. What do you guys think about this? Am I just too old school? Should I get used to these things that supposedly save gas? I don't know. I feel like the car's dying. I will say I feel like we've gotten quite a good amount of looks. You know, I think a lot of that's probably attributable to the color. You know, it's this bright orange metallic hue that kind of stands out almost like as much as my Camaro does. I feel like sometimes you see a car, that shiny color, you don't even know what it is, but it catches your eye just because it's bright and shiny. But we passed a couple Bronco Sports, and I've looked at those guys driving those, and I can tell they're looking at this because they know they've got the Sport. Nothing wrong with the Bronco Sport. It's a good SUV. I think they're going to sell a lot of those. But this is the real Bronco. This is the one everybody wanted. And I know a lot of people were kind of upset when they released the Bronco Sport almost a year before the actual Bronco, the Bronco as I call it. But yeah, so far I'm really impressed. I gotta say, I like it. So guys, that's going to do it for Much's Wrench Set and new car reviews. This is probably the one and only we'll ever get. Like I said, unless somebody's got a C8 Corvette or anything else cool that you guys want to let me drive, and we'll see what we can't bring to you guys. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. It's been about a year since we had the last one, so I'll probably see you in another year. But thanks, guys. As always, just comment below with anything you want us to talk about, any subjects. You know, if you guys got any questions about anything, just let us know. But we will talk to you guys on the next episode of Much's Wrench Set. Appreciate it, guys.